Hello from Belgium now. We arrived in Belgium, in Brussels, specifically a few days ago now, and we've been here relaxing, enjoying. We've got an Airbnb, a little studio, which is very, very cute, and it has a kitchen and things, which has been really lovely because it's allowed us to eat and do some normal human things whilst we're away on this 9 week trip. Brussels is beautiful. It's very different to the other place we've been, and we've enjoyed moving a little bit slower than the other few places. There hasn't been as many pressing things to get done in the 3 nights that we're here, so we've been able to relax a little bit, read, watch and catch up on some YouTube and some friends' videos and things like that, which has been really lovely because we're very, very tired after the past 3 weeks almost of traveling. That being said, I thought I'd jump on here and update you on what I've read over the past month whilst I've been away. I wrote down a list. I read on my Kindle quite a bit, and the books that I finished at the start of the month, I obviously was at home, and those books are at home. So you're gonna have to bear with not being able to see the covers. You can look them up if you need. But I read 5 books in total, and I've started the sixth, which is a big one. But I thought I'd just talk you through that, and then talk you through on what I plan on reading, moving towards the end of my trip and throughout like the next few warmer months. So the first book I read during May, it was a good reading month. I think I thought I would read a little bit more whilst I'm away, but I feel like these places have been a lot of go go go, not so much relax like Greece will be, and Italy per se. So I haven't read as much as I thought I would, and yeah, but nevertheless, I feel like I still read enough, and I'm not disappointed with what I read. So, the first book I read, which we all know I've raved about on here constantly, is My Work by Olga Round, translated from Danish. The cover, everything from the cover to what's inside, had me gooped. I think it may be one of my favorite books of all time, if not my favorite book of all time. It was life changing, to be honest. It's a brutal and honest reflection on motherhood, and I've been finding myself drawn to books on motherhood and childbirth and what it means to have and raise children, and what this means on not only the children but the parents. And yeah, very, very interesting. And in particular, motherhood is very intriguing to me. So my work just came at the most perfect time. Uh, and I fell in love with it. It's multifaceted. It has so many different forms, and it's fragmented, so it goes between like hospital records and diary entries, and it's told from this protagonist who we believe would share a lot of similarities to Olga herself. It's told from this protagonist who has found this person's diaries and things, but it is that person's diaries just from a different period. Really hard to explain if you haven't read it. I think if you can get your hands on it. It's a really good one to get. I don't know anywhere else. I know in Australia it's very, very difficult to get your hands on. Hence why I haven't read it. I hadn't read it yet, but nevertheless, I am glad to have read it. And yeah, so I read that, 5 stars. I haven't been like star ranking, but that's 5 stars. That's I'm imploring you to read that book. I then moved on to Mayflies, and look, I've I'd read the start of Mayflies a few times and just never like vibed with it. I put it down, those sort of things, and then I decided that I was going to read it. Especially because I was going to Scotland, so I was like, some Scottish literature would be good, and got invited to the Melbourne Writers Festival, and Andrew O'Hagan was actually being invited to talk at the Melbourne Writers Festival. So that sort of sparked my interest in the book again, and I just thought it was a good time. So I got it on Audible, and I listened to it and read it at the same time, sort of both. Um, this book sort of follows, it's set in the 80s, if I'm correct, in Scotland, and it follows this group of friends, and in particular, these two friends who are very, very close, these two boys, throughout their teenage and adolescent years. And then it fast forwards 30 years when one of the friends has some sad news for the other. And it talks a lot about what is friendship, what it means to be a good friend, what is a morally right decision on behalf of your friend, and yeah, where you sit in terms of the impact you can have on other people's lives. There was aspects of it that were very interesting, but then I felt like I didn't the first half of the book wasn't long enough to invest me in the characters enough to make me care about them so much in the second half of the book. So it sort of fell flat, and I just sort of was disinterested in it. But it does discuss some very interesting questions in terms of mortality and ethically, the discussion around euthanasia and things like that were interesting to me. But the book as a whole, I don't know. Like, would I recommend it? Probably not. Like, there's other books that I would recommend, of course, before that, in terms of that topic and that genre of like Scottish literature. I feel like there's better books out there, and I think Mayflies is a little bit overhyped, especially with what it's portrayed to be. I feel like it's portrayed to be this book about music and friendship, and it is, but it's very, very somber, and it isn't that funny. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't really enjoy it, to be honest. So that's the second book I read. And then on the plane, I finished Mayflies on the plane, and then I had Small Things Like These as well by Clay Keegan. I've read So Late in the Day and Foster. Foster I loved. So Late in the Day I really did like. And then I moved on to Small Things Like These, which is set in the 80s as well, but in Ireland. And it follows this man in a happy marriage with 5 daughters. He's a working class guy, but they're well enough off. You know, they have enough money, I guess. And he works, and he goes about his day, and he's happy. And then he ends up going to these convents, which were housing women who were not married and giving birth. And it was portrayed as this refuge to the community. And it was a time when the Catholic Church was very much in charge of society, in these towns. And he faces this moral dilemma of knowing what's going on inside the church, and everybody telling him, don't get involved, like, just keep your eyes down, like, don't get involved, it's not worth it. And he faces this moral dilemma. Claire Keegan writes so intentionally, and she says so much with so few words, which I really, really like. And I love Claire Keegan's writing. I definitely recommend you read this. I did enjoy it. I don't think it's my favorite of Claire Keegan's. Foster's still takes the cake, but nevertheless, very, very enjoyable read. And I feel like I would have got more out of it if I had have read it physically, not on my Kindle. I feel like reading Claire Keegan's books, the margins, the spacing, the font, everything is chose very intentionally, and I think that will enhance your reading experience. But I definitely recommend starting off with Foster if you can. But I think this is a very interesting commentary on society in Ireland at that point in time, and I hadn't really read anything like it, so I'm grateful to have read that, and I'm definitely happy I ticked it off my list, because it's been on my TBR on my bookshelf for a very long time. So I'm excited to get home and move that across into the bookshelf. Yeah, that is very exciting. I'm also, like, I don't know, buying all these books and stuff. I'm excited to keep traveling, but I'm also feel like going home and like being able to settle back into routine and like playing around with my books and my bookshelf will be also something to look forward to. So yes, I finished Small Things Like These. Recommend it if you have it. Yeah. Exteriors was then next. Now, I went to a bookshop called Readings Bookshop. I'm just going to check my mic still on, yeah. Readings Bookshop in Melbourne when I got my work, and I wanted to get Exteriors because I'd booked in to go to the Exteriors exhibition that is currently, it's finished now, but it was on in Paris when we were going, and I had tickets. And I wanted the Fitzcarraldo edition because I have Annie Ernaux in all the other ones I have Fitzcarraldo edition. So I wanted to get it. They didn't have it. So I did get it when I was away. I think it was the first stop I got it in Scotland. But I did read it in Scotland? No, in Ireland. But I did read it on the plane on my Kindle. And Exteriors it won the Nobel Prize for Literature. Annie Ernaux is a French writer. And it is a series of observations as she people watches in the suburbs of Paris. And it's very fragmented. It's just sort of like diary entries, and there's some very funny and witty things, and I think we all people watch. I definitely people watch. I love going to a restaurant and just sitting and like making up stories about other people, and you get snippets of their conversations, and you form these conclusions about who they are and what's going on in their life, and I think I can understand why it's so profound and why people love Exteriors so much. And the exhibition took the photos, because there's also a photo book that goes alongside exteriors, and it's like photos of everyday people who don't necessarily know they're being watched, and that makes it so much more, I don't know, raw and honest and vulnerable. And the exhibition was really nice. It was very nice curation. It was short enough. It wasn't too long. You know, when an exhibition drones on and on and on, this had just enough, and it had snippets of writing, which were impactful. And if you did go to the exhibition, or it's been anywhere else, let me know what you thought. But Brody and I very thoroughly enjoyed that. We were a bit worried, because the website was all in French, so we couldn't book. I had to get someone else, some random person on Instagram, to book me the tickets, or to at least translate it for me. But we got there, the tickets worked, so I guess that's a win. I then in Ireland also bought Pretentiousness and Why It Matters. I am loving essay collections. Um, I've also got Too Much and Not the Mood, which I bought a physical edition. I've also got it on my Kindle, and that's an essay collection I've been really wanting to get to, but I feel like I should maybe wait. If you've read it, let me know if you think it would be a good Europe read. But I have the physical edition, which I feel like there's going to be so much I want to underline. So I don't think I want to read it on my Kindle. Anyways, Pretentiousness and Why It Matters by Dan Fox. It's very small, Fitzcarraldo. I've sent it home. Honestly, it cost me 300 Australian dollars to send all my books home. Very, very silly. And then I bought more. So anywho's, that's been sent home. I did enjoy it. It is a series of essays that circle around the origin of the word pretentious, and what it means to call someone or be called pretentious, and how that has become a slur. And it sort of backtracks through the word's history and how it's been used to dissect it, and sort of understand that maybe being called pretentious isn't a bad thing, and maybe just liking certain things can put you in a class of pretentious people, when maybe you're really just liking some certain art or some music or whatever it be. And I did enjoy aspects of it, but I found by the end I was almost falling asleep. I found that some bits just became a little bit tedious and repetitive. And I don't know what else I expect, because it's a like 100 or 200 page book on pretentiousness. So we're using one word. And we're going on and on about it. So of course I got a little bit bored towards the end, but aspects of it were interesting and insightful, and I'm glad to have ticked it off my list, because it had been on there, and I'm glad to have read it. So yeah, that was the fifth book I read, and then probably like a week ago now, I started The Beasting by Paul Murray. And this is obviously, I'm going to finish this in, it's June already. That's actually crazy. I wanted a novel that I could really sink my teeth into. This isn't something that I feel like I would gravitate towards at the moment. Usually I feel like my reading taste has changed quite a bit over the past year, and I've hit my stride in what I like. The Cusk, the Levy, the Round, so many different like little writers that I've really taken a fancy to. And I wouldn't say that The Beasting is one that I would have thought I would want to read, but something came over me when I went book shopping with Dakota, and I really wanted to read it. I am maybe a third of the way through. That's how much I've read. And I've read this in 2 sittings, because I've been reading on trains. I haven't really been reading anywhere else, and I've read a little bit at the laundromat. I'm 250 pages in. This is a classic novel, I would say, about a family, the Barnes family, who are facing this downfall. They are very affluent, they've climbed the tiers, and they're going down again. And it follows each of the family members. It's like 100 pages from each family member's perspective: the daughter, the son, the mother, and the father. And it sort of backtracks through what they're all going through, even though they're all dealing with this one central thing. The way in which this affects them, and which they perceive what's happening to their family, is very, very different, of course. And it is really, really good. I had to stop at the laundromat yesterday, like in the middle of a really, really good part, and I am liking it. Apparently, it becomes even better. So I don't know. I think if you are looking for something a bit thicker to sit in for a little bit, I definitely recommend this. I'm hoping I can finish it sort of in Germany. I wanted to like read this a little bit slower, and enjoy it. So that should last me a few more weeks, I'd say, maybe till like almost the end of June. I don't know. And then by the time I get to Italy, I'm hoping to get on to The Orange by Wendy Cope. I saved this here. Brody didn't know. He wanted me to send these home. But this is a poetry collection full of Wendy Cope's iconic poems. The Orange by Wendy Cope, you probably know. And this is like a little Faber edition that they obviously brought out because of TikTok and the fact that the orange went off on TikTok. So I'm excited to read that because I feel like it's very summary. Dakota definitely recommended that I read that, and then I'm gonna read Hot Milk by Deborah Levy as well. This is set, I think, maybe in Paris or France, or I don't actually know. I can't remember if I bought Swimming Home as well, and I've sent it home. I really don't know. I don't know if it was. I really wanted to read Swimming Home as well, but anywho's, I have that. I'm gonna read that in Greece, and then if I get to it, I might read Seven and a Half by Chris Tilskolkes as well. Yeah, we'll see. I think in Greece I'm gonna end up reading quite a lot because we're gonna be in Paros for how long? Like 7 days, I think, and then Athens for three, and Santorini for three. So we're in Greece for quite an extended period of time, and we're also going to Crema, where Call Me by Your Name is filmed in Italy, for 3 days, which is quite a long time apparently. And there's not much to do there, so I think I'll read a lot there. The other places I think will be quite busy, but I think that's a good stack of books to last me, and I'm excited. I've been motivated and inspired to read and buy the different literature and bookshops around, and people here just seem a little bit more creative. We go to Amsterdam tomorrow, so if you have Amsterdam recommendations, Germany recommendations, Prague, all through Italy we're going, let us know. We love recommendations because we find, especially with food and things like that, because I feel like there's a lot of dodgy food around and things that aren't so nice for the money. So I love getting recommendations of friends because they always give great recommendations. So yeah, I'm glad to speak to you. I'm gonna upload a vlog in a few days as well. I think I don't know when it'll be finished. I'm finishing it in Belgium, but I don't know when I'll have internet to upload it. So I thought I'd make use of the internet here, upload it, seeing as it's the end of May. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. Toodaloo. Bye.